These insects look like they're from another planet. 15 weird and exotic insects you won't believe actually exist. Watch till the end.
Elephant hawk moth. What a beautiful pink hummingbird. Wait, that's not a hummingbird, that's a clothes moth. Oh my god, that's right! And despite its robust body, which measures 2.7 inches in span, this clothes moth is able to feed on the nectar of flowers without perching on them as a professional. What's more, the elephant hawk moth is among the fastest flying insects in the world and reaches a speed of up to 12 miles per hour. If you thought that due to its rarity you could never run into this insect, in reality it's very easy to find in urban environments. Of course, provided that you live in Europe, Asia, and North America, in particular Canada. And if you aren't afraid of insects, you may notice that actually this clothes moth has a singular beauty for its bright colors and extremely elegant legs. Spiny devil Katydid. Directly from the Ecuadorian Amazon, I bring you this thorny insect, the Katydid, which is a distinguished tenant of the great Yasumi National Park, where is housed a great and incredible biodiversity of animals such as hoatzines, anteaters, jaguars, among others. And although I know that each rose has its thorn, please be careful with them, because if it feels threatened, the Katydid could emit high-pitched squeaks to scare its predators. However, if, despite the fact that its enemies do not stop, it will try to defend itself with the hard thorns of its legs so that it cannot be caught. But look at these curious thorns that seem to crown its small head. Although this is not a mere accessory, even less does it mean that the Katydid is part of royalty.
The beautiful crown!
In fact, these thorns are part of its incredible battlesuit to face its fierce enemies. And if after all that you still want to bother it, I suggest you stay away from it because its two jaws are capable of making your hands bleed without mercy.
Ouch!
Do not even try to mess with it. Thorn Treehopper. Now I'll play a little with your mind. What do you see here? If you believe they were a group of exotic butterflies, I'd hate to disappoint you, because in fact, these disconcerting and unpleasant insects are thorn treehoppers. As you can see, this species has a large horn that pretends to be a thorn, which it uses as a defense mechanism mainly against birds. This tiny insect can measure about 0.5 inches, and although its appearance can be frightening, take it easy. The thorn treehopper is totally harmless. Moreover, its favorite food is obtained by itself through the ornamental and fruit trees of the subtropical regions from northern South America to North America, specifically in the southern United States. Pyrops Candelaria. Look at the long and very thin horn that this insect has. Many researchers believe that it could emit light like fireflies, but in reality, it's a hollow structure that Pyrops Candelaria uses to drill the bark of trees. Make way! If you want to see it in all its splendor, you can find it in several Southeast Asian countries such as Vietnam, Hong Kong, Laos, and Thailand. And as expected, not only its colors but also its singular shape makes it the most popular insect among collectors. Do you also feel that fascination for collecting insects? If so, tell me in the comments how big your collection is. So far you're doing well, right? Although I've presented to you some rare insects, now it's time for you to swallow hard because you're about to see one of the most feared bugs of all. Creatonotos Gangis. Yes, I know, you've already watched a clothes moth in this list, however, you'll run scared as soon as you see this one.
Run!
The Creatonotos Gangis is totally chilling and disgusting. It's enough for you to look at it to feel the true terror. As you can see, its abdomen can be red or bright yellow. However, in the case of the male, it has these furry and terrifying long organs that inflate and secrete pheromones to attract the female. Oh, but what a gallant! The Creatonotos Gangis lives in Southeast Asia and Oceania, specifically in Australia. In addition, it's considered a plague since it's an insatiable machine which devours plantations and crops. Although on second thought, it'd be better to stay there, in the plantations. Can you imagine meeting it in your bedroom at night? It's simply frightening. Common Scorpionfly. This fly can scare you by the disconcerting sting that it has at the end of its abdomen.
What's that?
Although in fact, it's an organ that the male uses to hold the female tightly during copulation, And the most incredible is that it doesn't contain venom.
Oh, thank God.
The common scorpionfly won't let any prey go because in its head, it has an elongated trunk-like structure, on whose front end its chewing jaws are ready to devour easily any small insect or spider that crosses its path. Catacanthus incarnatus. This may be the funniest insect on the list because it has spots that seem to form a face. That's why it's also called man-faced stink bug, or even, it's said jokingly, that it looks like the iconic face of Elvis Presley. What do you think?
Yeah, right.
In my point of view, there's a similarity in the hairstyle. Anyway, the Catacanthus incarnatus measures approximately 1.1 inches in length. Moreover, it's a native species of southeastern and southern Asian countries. Being this curious bug red, orange, yellow, and cream, despite the fact that it's very funny to see it, this insect represents a great threat, since it's a plague in India where you can find populations of up to 300 in a tree. Can you imagine all those faces looking at you?
Holy shrimp, they're everywhere!
Oh, and it also flies, of course. Panda Ant. Just hearing its name, you could imagine a little panda running with the agility of an ant, but no. There is not any relationship between it and a lovely panda. On the contrary, you'll be shocked to learn that it's not really an ant, but a wasp without wings.
Are you serious?
Yes, and although it may seem so tender, when you see it feeding from the flower's nectar, with respect to the female panda ant, I have a disturbing fact, which is that she can devour other smaller ants or caterpillars occasionally without problems.
Weird!
Nevertheless, for some people, it's a very adorable insect. Would you dare to hold one?
Of course.
Well, I recommend you don't, since its bite is extremely painful. Lychee Shield Bug. Attention, turn spotlights on please. Due to its intense metallic colors, that's why it's one of the most fascinating insects of this list. Known as green jewel bug of India, it measures around 0.7 inches and it's commonly widespread in South and Southeast Asia. On the other hand, it feeds on the juices of plants. And just as it's very striking, it's also excessively smelly, because to defend itself, it produces a very unpleasant odor.
Gross!
The truth is that its colors fascinated me. I just discovered my favorite insect, waxtail hopper. This disconcerting insect looks like a cockroach in its special costume for Halloween, ready to scare anyone who crosses its path. Although in fact, it would be its long and terrifying tail of wax, which is used as camouflage and protection against its predators. On the other side, the female also uses the wax to protect her eggs, something that looks so disgusting. I know that I compared the Pterodictia reticularis with an ordinary cockroach, but it's actually a distant relative of the cicada. So keep an eye out if you live between Costa Rica and the south of Argentina, because you could take a big scare if you found it feeding on nearby plants. Brazilian treehopper. This pretty weird bug as if it was carrying an antenna in its head.
Put down that antenna.
And although its appearance is quite threatening, actually it's harmless for humans. Surely by its name you'll think that it only lives in the happy country of Samba, Brazil. However, it's very common to see it in other continents like part of Africa, North America and South America, Australia and Asia. If you ask yourself what these tremendous protuberances would be used for, well, let me just tell you that its exact function has not been established scientifically yet. Just as you hear, some say that the horns serve to camouflage themselves or to frighten possible predators. Tell me, what do you think about it? Alligator Bug. The shape this butterfly appears to have is simply fascinating. That means its bulging head gives the impression of being in front of the alligator head. In addition, it has two large false eyes on its wings.
Amazing!
Don't you think so?
Yes!
This incredible queen of disguise lives in tropical humid forests of the American continent. Emerald Cockroach Wasp. This wasp doesn't only stand out in this list because of its striking colors or robust body, but being one of the most feared due to its terrifying reproductive cycle. First, for it, it'll look for a cockroach which it'll control after injecting its poison without killing it. However, its poison will leave it in a state similar to that of a zombie. Then, it'll attract it to the nest to deposit an egg in its abdomen in order to convert the cockroach into a living host for its larva. Although it won't stay alive for long, since the larva will grow by feeding on the internal organs of the cockroach until it goes outside. Totally ruthless. Golden tortoise beetle. What's that? Will it be gold? Will it be pyrite? No, although I know that all that glitters is not gold, I'm sorry to tell you that, in this occasion, what glitters is rather an insect. The golden color of the golden tortoise beetle draws so much attention, in addition to its transparent structure that seems to protect it. Look how it manages to protect itself with its luxurious shield. This beetle is a jewel. In addition, it's the tiniest of the list with only 0.2 inches in length. As I always say, good things come in small packages. Luna moth. I love these amazing and beautiful lime green wings that can measure up to 4.5 inches when they are extended, which is approximately the same length as an iPhone. Although you could see it during the day, this beautiful butterfly likes the mystique of night. Of course, just as darkness has its charm, it also has its dangers. This insect, beside being beautiful, seems to be delicious, or at least that's what the bats think, because night after night they seek to devour it.
Ah! Mom! Dad! A bat! A bat!
However, the Luna moth has a trick up its sleeve in order to face this voracious predator, or rather, a trick up its wings, since it very sagaciously uses its long tail as a tool to mislead bats during its attacks. Do you want to see how it manages to confuse its enemies? Pay attention to this incredible escape. I'm sorry, Bat, but tonight, you better look for another dinner.
Which one would you never want to meet? Like, share, and follow for more unbelievable animals.